Hey, what's up guys? It is I, Mark Yoon, and today I'm bringing another hopefully exciting video. So what I want to talk to you about today is Soul Calibur VII and the narrative. Now, this is going to be piggybacking off of a bunch of other videos that I've made about Soul Calibur VII, and kind of talking about what you guys have been talking about in the comment section and on Discord, link in the description box. And I think this is pretty interesting, and it might be almost a hot take, so buckle up for this video. So, what I want to talk about is not writing themselves into a corner, which I've talked about before. I mentioned before talking about the events with Algol and leading up to Soul Calibur V and whatnot, and how like they kind of narratively speaking wrote themselves into a corner, which they're kind of not retreading this time. But I'm talking more mainly about wasted potential. So we know that we have like the Swords and the Shepherds, right? And we know at least of the Swords and the Shepherds, if you're including Ishka-Ak, there's probably like 8 to 10 members. I always joke around and call it like Naruto's, Soul Calibur's Akatsuki. So I think it's similar to that in nature. And we know about like Ishka-Ak using different characters' abilities and transforming into them as like her own character. We also know about them being in communal with Algol, trying to break through into this dimension. So there's a lot of like things going on when it comes to the narration. But I think particularly the Swords and the Shepherds are what I'm most concerned with. The reason why I like Shippuden so much, right, is because they take their time with the Akatsuki, not like, you know, getting rid of them after like the initial fight, because a lot of times like in narration, a villain will go up against a hero and then all of a sudden like the hero overcomes the villain, or maybe fails the first time and then gets them the second time. And while that is good for a character building up for the hero's journey, I think it does a disservice to the characters, because a lot of times in narration, like guys, honestly, I think a lot of you are on the boat with me. Some of the coolest characters are the villains, because like it's interesting to see their reasoning for wanting the desires that they want and holding the things that they hold. And a lot of those villains come off as more cool because they just like, they're not fighting for, most of the time, they're not fighting for anybody else beside of themselves, right? So you get kind of like more character out of those characters because their goals are their own goals. They're not just fighting for something arbitrary like peace or like a utopia or for friends or, you know, trying to save someone, which a hero, these are all interesting things that they can fight for, but a lot of times you retread the same narration that you did with any other thing that's come out with the same kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's just like, you don't want to retread water because then the story becomes boring and predictable, and predictability in a story is probably its number1 downfall. Even though it's kind of hard to get away from that at some point, because there's a median line between like an awesome ending, a shocking ending, and like a good ending, like the good guy version ending, which they try to fall somewhere in between to please everybody, which never ends up working. Which is why I do like sometimes in fighting games when like you get like a bad ending. Or something like Mass Effect even, where like you get an ending dependent on like what your decision making is. So how does this lead into the Swords and the Shepherds? Well, I know that like Ishka-Ak was communing at the end of Season 2 with Algol, right? Trying to break through to another dimension, trying to like bring him in here. They're collecting the evil shards from Soul Edge. This is all stuff that we already know, right? But instead of like wasting all their potential and just like piling through all of the Swords and Shepherds in this game and then having Algol as like the final boss, though I think there should be kind of like a teaser or another reveal towards Algol, I think it should be built up more kind of like the MCU. Not in terms of narration, but in terms of the villain will have an overarching feeling in the game, but you don't want him to be in the game to be overcome like immediately, right? You just want him in the background as an overlooming and overarching threat. And I think that would be the best way to build up for upcoming games after Soul Calibur VII. Because you don't want to like put all your eggs in one basket, make this game super long, and then like next game have to like be like, well, where do we go from here? That's part of the problem that happened after Soul Calibur 4. Particularly actually after Soul Calibur 3, honestly. So a lot of these narrative disputes that you can probably overcome can do with drawing things out a bit. And I don't mean just like, you know, taking your time with the fights and whatnot, but just like we have a large cast of characters that all travel separately in different groups doing different objectives. So presumably each group is going to encounter like two individuals from the Swords and the Shepherds, right? A sword and a shepherd. Same way, like I said, in Naruto they usually do. But instead of like battling them one after another in succession, there should be major defeat in this game. I kind of want this game to be the middle of like the Star Wars original trilogy, right? Like it's the dark aspect, like things are really looking bleak for our heroes, and like we really need to get them back into like their best shape, or to overcome something, or to make them even more powerful, you know, get them some kind of like transformation or just an obstacle to overcome. So maybe out of like the 8 Swords and Shepherds, we only battle 4, right? And then like after the 4 of them are defeated, then we have like Ishka Oct come back with Wan Gobak or something. Maybe Wan Gobak received a power up, maybe Ishka Oct did. Maybe she's her own playable character now, and she's actually like using some of the energies from the other dimension of Algol to transform into Algol. Not giving him a 100% moveset, but kind of making him an Edgemaster type character just for this game. So it's not actually him, she's just like embodying the soul of Algol and using like an Edgemaster type style. That way we're not like gypped out of an extra style, and we're not like, you know, blowing our load too fast with like introducing Algol too early. And we have Ishka Oct using Algol to fight through that way. So she's enough of a threat to really like give the heroes pause. And even though she's defeated in that form, it's not her final variation, and it's certainly not Algol's introduction or his variation. So we'll have like 4 Swords and Shepherds, which I think should actually be like 2 of the evil ones, and then like Zwei and Viola should be the second ones. And after overcoming them, Zwei and Viola either go do their own separate thing and come back eventually in the next game to join us, or they join us in this game, taking us directly to Ishka Oct, who they believe is the direct controller of the Swords and the Shepherds. A lot of people have been saying that like Nightmare is the leader of the Swords and the Shepherds because like Ishka Oct is like taking her stuff from them. I think this is a misnomer. I think the Nightmare is kind of like the pain of this situation, and Ishka Oct is like the Conan, just trying to force his will like throughout the rest and making it seem like he's the ultimate leader, when we have like Algol behind the scenes like being kind of like the Obito or the Toby, trying to like, you know, make things go in the direction that is most beneficial for him. So I do think that like we can fight Ishka Oct in this form, or like if they don't even do the Soul of Algol thing, if they do like let's say just transforming again, but Nightmare gets like a power boost, or maybe we see him transform or something like that, and we overcome them in this game, and that's the final bad guy of this game. And then more of like the secondary story mode, whether it be like a Chronicles of the Soul type thing, or like a Libra of the Souls type thing, or even like some cinematics and Weapon Master mode, something like that, will give us more hints towards the next game, while the seasons of DLC that come out that introduce new characters will actually give us new stuff, right? And it'll give us more narration towards Soul Calibur 8. So when we're doing this, you're saving emphasis for the next game. You're still building it up, because now we still have 4 more of these like crazy Swords and Shepherds members to overcome, even though it was so difficult to overcome the original 4 in this game. We have the main bad guy who's still trying to break through, so we still have to contend with that threat. We have whatever Ishka Oct is planning, however she's making her power-ups. We have the villains still trying to get the soul edge shards. So there's so much more overlooming in this narrative than just like, alright, we saved the day, and like now what do we do in the next game? I think this is like the best bet that they can go down. I don't know. I don't really see any other way, honestly, that they can do it to prolong it, to give us good narration for the next game. Because then, what's the alternative? It's like Algol comes in this game, they defeat Algol, and then like he's pushed back, and then like we fight him again in the next game, just like we did in 5, or we have to fight an even bigger bad guy, causing like our heroes to have to overcome even more feats and become even more powerful, and then there's nobody that can stand up to them in the next game. Kind of like a Dragon Ball Z situation, where like you have to constantly introduce more and powerful enemies, otherwise the narration just stops. You know, like One Punch Man kind of. It's just like there's always something looming over the horizon. That gets old really, really fast. So I think that they should keep Algol and save him. And I know a lot of people want Algol in this game, right? And I would love extra characters too, but think about this. We're getting like Zvi and Viola back, plus like 2, let's say, new members of the Swords and Shepherds, or pre-existing members of the Swords and Shepherds. Maybe even it's Curtis or something like that. That way, like, we have new characters in the game and new styles in the game, but we still have more to look forward to in the next game. You know what I mean? Like, this will actually like give a lot more build-up and levity to the story itself. Because I know, like, a lot of us, like, some people only care about like having the characters and playing online and stuff like that. But then there's a lot of us that like really are invested in the Soul Calibur story. This will just be a way to like please everybody. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, guys. Do you have any different ideas, or let me know some narrative points that you don't want to see crossed, or you think could help prolong the story and give us like viability into an 8 and potentially a 9, just to keep the series ongoing and not like write ourselves in a narrative hole, or backtrack like a lot of other fighting games do. They'll just constantly like reboot. I'm looking at you, Mortal Kombat. This way, like, people are invested and you're not constantly dropping like old viewers every time you get a new game. Any and all thoughts are always welcome in the comment section down below, and of course we can open this discussion up on Discord because we talk about a lot of other stuff. There's a link in the description box below. Any and all thoughts, guys, always welcome. And as I always say, I love it. Thank you.
And thank you.